So today I have with me my friend Becky Moultrie from Assisting Hands Home Care. She's been part of all the previous conferences, conference number 3. But today we want to chat a little bit about caregiver burnout.
Yep. So do we want to
Go down to
share the
screen. Over here. Up.
There we go. Got it. All right.
Right there. Share. Yeah. Okay. Do the green.
Play. There we go.
And do the green. Okay, good.
There we go.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah, so one of the things, Becky and I spoke about before the conference about what we wanted to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a real concern because recently one of my caregivers, well, I call everybody my caregivers, took her life by suicide, which was just heartbreaking, totally heartbreaking. And what was more heartbreaking is we found out afterwards that no one knew she needed help. Her family didn't know she needed help. Her church didn't know she needed help. Her neighbors didn't know she needed help. And they all would have been there to help her. But she felt it was her responsibility, as overwhelming as it was. So that's why we picked this topic to talk about today, because I think it's so important, because it's so easy to just slide into that burnout.
It is. And so, our topic today is signs of caregiver burnout and how to prevent it.
Yeah.
So thought we would pull together some facts and figures here. So let me see.
I think just press enter.
There we go. So take us to the next slide. There we go. All right, okay. We got it. We'll get this figured out.
Yeah.
So be it either love, obligation, or just doing what's right.
Right.
There's a reason that more than 40 million, can't believe that number, adults in North America are taking care of somebody. Right. And you look, the majority of them are taking care of somebody who's over 65. And a pretty significant portion, almost a quarter of them, are taking care of 2 people.
And I'm telling you, a lot of those, that 70% that are taking care of someone 65, they're over 65 too.
Correct. So now I'm surprised at the last number there, that 32% describe the experience as stressful. I think that's low.
Yeah, I think they just don't talk about it. It's just like this woman said, she was okay.
Yep.
And a lot of it starts gradually.
Yes.
So you don't think you're stressed. I'm okay. I'm handling it. I can just get through today.
Right. And, some people ask me, well, I'm not burnout. I don't have that. I'm not that bad. So I looked up what's
there,
what's
those
the
words,
definition?
Not that bad. What's the definition of not that bad?
Yeah. It's like, it's just a little storm.
Yeah.
It's still a storm.
Yeah.
So, what is caregiver burnout? Well, it's a debilitating psychological condition brought on by unrelieved stress.
Right.
And to me, that word unrelieved stress is the big component
because
here.
Caregiving is a 24/7 job.
Yeah. And there's 168 hours in a week.
Right.
That's a lot of hours.
That's a lot of hours.
That's
not to have any
jobs.
relief.
That's 4 full-time jobs. Yeah. If you work a 40-hour week, some of us work 50-hour weeks now, whatever, that's 4 people that you're representing.
Right.
So, and that's
physically, mentally, emotionally.
Right. So I don't care how strong somebody says they are, you're at risk.
And I'm going to say something to caregivers, and sometimes you might not like to hear how I put things. But if you do not get help, then you're doing an injustice to your loved one. Because many times caregivers think, I'm the bomb caregiver.
Yeah.
Only I can do it.
Right. I married this man. I made a vow, till death do we part, in sickness and in health. I said that I was going to be there.
Right.
Regardless, in the good times and the bad.
Right. And I promised Mom I would never put her into a community.
Right. And because this is my mother, she took care of me, she diapered me, she bathed me,
right.
She fed me.
It's not so bad.
Right. I can do all those things for her too. Well, you can, But, didn't mom have a babysitter that came in and helped and didn't
Didn't
her
you go to
brother-
school when you were a toddler? When you
Yeah.
became school age, your
Didn't
mom
you
had
have
a
play
break?
dates?
Yeah. Well, one of my caregivers said to me, she wasn't stressed. She didn't feel she was stressed at all until one day she went like this and her hair started falling out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the double-edged sword, is that not only are you affecting your own personal health, you're also creating potentially a negative impact on your ability to provide quality care.
Yeah.
So you're hurting yourself, but you're also maybe hurting the person that you're taking care of.
Right. That's why I say you're doing an injustice if you don't take care of yourself. And sometimes just know something. Your loved one wants a break from you too. They really do. Many times they're not going to say it because they're just so grateful that you're caring for them as we are. So grateful for what the caregivers do, for everything they do. It's thankless many times, many times. But they want you to have some help too. Because many times they feel good. If they see you're really stressed, that all of that comes off onto your loved one also.
Yes.
And I don't want to be a senior citizen and my daughter has to is taking care of me and there's just tension everywhere.
Right.
It's not good for anybody.
Yeah, it really grates on it. So some of the signs we see
Yeah.
of caregiver burnout are physical problems. It can be depression or mood swings, anxiety about the future, impatience or irritability. You're argumentative. Those are things that when those come off, your loved one that you're taking care of feels those things, and then they start to feed
Yeah.
off of that.
Well, one time a woman came into a support group and she walked in and she said, "My doctor said I need a support group." I said, "Oh, welcome." And everybody was very inviting to her.
Yeah.
And she said, I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "I yelled at my mother. I yelled at my mother.
Yeah.
And the last thing I ever wanted to do was yell at my mother."
Mhm.
So because we're human, it's tough. And it's tough. It's just tough physically to do it, but emotionally, because many times, especially we're taking a lot of population today is Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get better.
Yeah, these are progressive
Yeah.
diseases.
Could be a long road.
Right. There's not a cure.
No.
We pray that there will be someday.
Right.
And even the treatments that are out there are just they're band-aids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So, I think it's really important to see if you're seeing even just one of these signs, you need to think about preventing burnout.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want to happen is have burnout. As Benjamin Franklin told us, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
Self-care, taking care of yourself and making sure your own cup is full there. This cup here is so important because that's going to be your best prevention to having these happy moments.
Yeah. And the thing is, many times you're disappointed in yourself, but you're not even saying it that you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you take care of yourself, you feel better and you're better able to take care of the person, just taking that time. I think many times caregivers are just running around this little tornado. I can do it because you know what? I was there one day. Couple of days.
Tell us about one of those. I mean,
well, you just keep feeling it. As the next thing happens, you can take care of it. You can do it.
I got this.
All of a sudden, your grandchildren or your husband is saying, "Where you been? I haven't seen you. You're with your mother all the time," kind of thing, and things start to break down. Oh, I can do it though, and I can take care of the house, and I can take care of my husband, and I can take care of everything else.
Right.
And then one day I felt myself gritting my teeth.
Wow.
Gritting my teeth. And then I found myself very teary. Very teary. But I will say, when my mom passed away, one day I met a woman in the supermarket and she said to me, "How you doing, Linda?" And I said, "I'm okay." And she said, "I'm sick of hearing that from you." She said, "I have to tell you, when you took care of your mother, you stole my joy."
Yeah.
I said, "Excuse me?" She said, well, I could see you swimming in quicksand. And every time I asked to help you, you said, no, I'm okay. And you never gave me the opportunity to meet your mom either.
Yeah. And that's, that's something we're going to talk about here is how many people really want to help us, because I know you've told me the story. You've facilitated over 1,600 support groups
Yeah, it's like,
and workshops.
yeah, and craziness.
And you always tell me about the AAA dilemma
Yeah.
that you see from
Yeah.
families.
So the AAA dilemma, caregivers don't ask for help, they don't accept help, and they don't acknowledge themselves. So what happens is your neighbor comes by or your friend from church or whatever. Becky, is there anything I can do to help you?
Oh no, I got, you know what, Linda, I got it all. I'm fine.
Okay.
We're doing good.
Oh.
We're doing good this week.
Okay.
It's okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Baloney.
Yeah.
Baloney.
Yeah.
Now, first, what I did is I now put one more thing on your list.
I know, like, oh my
What
gosh,
is she gonna help me with?
now Linda wants to come over and I'm gonna have to clean up the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I gotta clean up the laundry that's all over the couch, and I may have to clean the bathroom because if she has to go to the bathroom, what am I gonna do?
Right.
So now all these things I'm
Now,
thinking.
you're more apprehensive
Right.
than anything.
Right.
So what I suggest to caregivers to do, though, is take a little time to sit down and write a list of some things you can accept help with. And it could be mowing your lawn, right? It could be taking out your garbage cans and bringing them back in for you each week. It could be. And then when you have your list and someone comes over, you say, here, just pick one. And your neighbor's going to go, I've been wanting to mow your lawn for 6 months. I'm happy. And one of my caregivers said in one of the support groups, I finally let the neighbor mow my lawn, but I told him he didn't have to edge. He edges now for her.
That's awesome. He just threw it in. Bonus.
Yes. But really, I mean, people want to help you and they can't help you if you keep saying no to them.
Right. So make that list and say, well, yeah, there are some things I could use some help with. Do you want to look at this list and see? Okay,
and pick one.
Yeah, pick one.
And pick one. All your neighbors have to go food shopping.
Yeah.
And there's many times too, caregivers, they think, oh, nobody does it like I do. Yeah, it's just fine. It still gets done and it's okay.
It is.
And people want to help you.
They do. And that's, I found this little nationwide poll from First News, and they said people want to help others and they look for opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
So they want to put that helping hand out because there's a wide benefit for people
to do good,
and they want to do good.
Yeah.
That's always been my life motto is I do good with love. And, people are intrinsically, they want to love others.
Yes.
And they're asking how you're doing because they care about you, not because they have to. Because if they didn't want to say hello to you, you know how it is. People just walk down the road and go. They could easily walk by, but they have made contact with you. They have talked to you. They have sought you out to say, hey, how are you? What can I do for you?
Well, and I also want you to be honest. Many people don't even want to say they're in a caregiving situation.
Yeah.
They don't want to admit to that. This was probably 3 or 4 months ago. I'm in my mail room and a woman opened up her mailbox and the mail fell out on the floor and she started crying. And I'm thinking, that's not a big. And as she's picking up the mail, she looks at me and she said, I'm taking care of my husband with Alzheimer's and it's just so very hard.
Wow.
Well, there was another lady in the mailroom and she goes, my husband has dementia. I said, you girls need to talk and you need to come to my conference. And then about 3 or 4 days ago, I saw them walking around the complex with their husbands.
Nice. So you connected them.
We need to share. We need to let people know that we're caring for someone.
Right. And it's okay to get comfortable asking for help.
Yeah.
We threw some different ideas on there. Take a break out of the house. I love your story of the husband and wife, and the wife wanted to get to church.
Yeah. So she wanted to she's taking care of her husband, and her husband has no filters right now. I mean, it's very embarrassing when they go out in public. And she said, well, I don't want to give up going to church though, Linda. I'm just like done. I just want to go to church. She said, so I finally gave in, and her neighbor, who has been asking her forever, is there anything I can do to help you? She said, is Jewish. So she went over and she said to him, do you think that you could hang out with my husband when I go to church on Sunday? And he said, sure, I would love to do that. And she said, so the first Sunday I scrambled to church and I ran home. And when I walked in the house, they were playing dominoes and they said, we don't need you here.
Get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here. So she
Yeah.
gets 3 hours every Sunday morning now.
Yeah.
And sometimes she goes to the park after church, or say one time she got her hair cut,
Yeah,
whatever.
breakfast.
And yes, and her husband gets to spend time with the neighbor, and the neighbor gets to spend time with her husband.
You gotta wonder what benefit that is giving to that neighbor too. He's getting some social interaction with somebody. He's
Right.
getting some stimulation.
Right.
Husband's getting his guy time, because guys do need guy time.
Exactly.
So
And you're out of the way.
yeah, so it's a triple win.
Well, how many times you'll hear someone in the neighborhood died, nobody even knew he was sick?
Yeah.
Because they're just in their house by themselves, thinking they can do it all by themselves.
Yeah.
And it's sad because people do want to help.
They
People
do.
really do want to help.
They
And
do.
and it could be little tiny things, and it doesn't have to be a big thing, but you want to create a team too of people that can help you. So I found out during COVID that there were some caregivers that who they thought were going to be on their team couldn't be on their team anymore.
Oh wow.
They had, some family members and some friends that said, oh, I'll always be there. I'll always be to help you. Well, they said that like 2 years ago. Now they have some physical issues.
Yeah.
Or some things have changed and they can't be on their team anymore.
Oh wow.
So everybody needs a team of a couple of people, whether it's friends and neighbors, whether it's a home health care company. So let's talk a little bit about what you do and how that can help caregivers too.
Yeah. So we have home health aides and certified nursing assistants that have training to help in the home. They're also background screened. So
Yes.
these are people that have been vetted, that are safe. And here in Florida, anybody who works for a home care company has to have what's called a level 2 background screen. So a level 2 is they've been through a Florida Department of Law Enforcement and an FBI fingerprint
Right.
screening. So we know that they're not criminals. These are safe, vetted people. When we hire somebody, they go on our roster and we have to register them with the state of Florida. So God forbid if they ever did do anything wrong, it's going to come up on a
National
or Florida Department of
Yeah.
Law Enforcement list, and ACA, which is the Agency for Healthcare Administration that oversees all healthcare here in Florida, tags us and lets us know. We also do our own reference checks on caregivers. They go through 2 interviews with us before we bring somebody in. Plus they go through 6 hours of training.
Yeah,
just with us.
training.
Right. So most of the girls that come to work for me already have experience, but we still have them go through an additional training program just to make sure they're refreshed.
Yes, and there are new things that I'll learn.
Right. So, when we see new conferences, like I will share the conference link to my caregivers and say, hey, these are really good sessions you need to watch.
Yeah.
And tap into. When Arden Courts does a conference and they have, Pam Cummings on, and she does,
Kate.
she did one recently that was, why do you do that? Why do they do that?
Yeah.
I sent it out to all my caregivers because it was great help.
Because if you know better, you do better.
Yes. And you can always be honing your skills. So our girls are constantly honing their skills. We talk to them. But what they can do is they can come out and do some of those little wish list things, or even just spend time because you're not comfortable leaving your husband at home alone. You're afraid, is he going to get up? Is he going to fall?
Right.
Will he eat his lunch? He never remembers to eat his lunch unless I put it right in front of him.
And still may not eat it.
Right. And that's okay. But at least you knew somebody was there to sit with him.
Yes.
And be with him so you could go out and get a little break.
Well, and it is also good for your loved one because they need to be social.
Yep.
They need to see other people.
Right. So we'll take them out for a walk. We'll play cards. We'll play games. We can take them out to the park. We can take them for appointments if it's too much for you. I have one lady that her husband's a veteran, and she really going to the VA is overwhelming for her.
Mm-hmm.
To go over to Bay Pines is too much for her.
Yeah.
So we have one particular caregiver that whenever he has an appointment at Bay Pines, she calls us and Cynthia takes him to his
That's
VA
fabulous.
appointments. And then comes back and says, okay, here's all the appointments. Here's the little,
That's
medical
fabulous.
forms, and she puts them on her list. So we can do things like that so that it takes a little burden off of you.
Yeah.
We've got another instance. I had a son call me up recently, and mom had just recently moved over from Central Florida to live nearby. So she's living in St. Pete here now. So she's really close to him. And all of a sudden she started having falls at night. And it's her sciatica, and they can't figure it out. And it's taking time. They went into the orthopedic surgeon.
Wow.
He said, well, you know what? Insurance says we've got to order an MRI. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. I'll see you back in 2 weeks. He's like, what am I supposed to do with mom for 2 weeks? She can't walk.
Right.
So he called us up and said, can you help us out? And I said, sure. So we're sending a caregiver in the morning to help mom get up, get dressed. Then we come back in the evening, we get her some dinner, make sure she gets to bed. And then we have a caregiver there with her overnight to help her because she was having falls at night.
Yeah, you don't want that.
And
the fall can be the end.
Right. Well, she had even had one where she had called 911 in the morning because the son hadn't stopped by in time to come see her. And so, we're there until they get that sciatica.
Well, you know what's good too, when you work with a company like your company, God forbid something happens to the caregiver and she can't make it that day.
Mm-hmm.
You have a team, you can fill in on a team. If somebody just has a caregiver, a one-person caregiver, different from church or whatever, I'm not putting any of that down.
Right, because you still want to have those resources.
Right. But if something happens to them, then you're out of luck.
Right.
And I think that's really important to know. You don't know, there was a study by the University of Pittsburgh a while ago, and I know the statistics have jumped. That something like 65% of the caregivers over the age of 68 are dying before the person they're taking care of.
Mm-hmm.
Because the caregiver says, I'm okay. And you're worried about, is mom eating? Not am I eating? You take mom to the doctors, you don't go to the doctors.
Right.
You don't take care of yourself. You don't exercise. You don't do any of that. And then God forbid something happens to you. Well, now the worst scenario comes true. I mean, some stranger's going to come in that mom's never met before.
Yeah.
We don't want to wait till that kind of stuff happens.
Right.
Or mom's going to end up having to go into a community, maybe, depending on what happened with you. So it's really important to think about that and taking care of yourself.
Right, because your blood pressure goes up. You start creating more stress on your heart. Your body gets inflamed. There's so many things going on there. And that's why I love during the conference here, you're going to be doing some stress breaks, right?
Yes, every day at lunchtime.
Yeah. So
because sometimes you just need that little bit of time. Those few minutes.
Even if it's 5 minutes that you take to breathe and stretch your neck and get the blood flowing.
Yeah. Well, I have little alarms on my phone.
Do you?
That remind me to say a prayer.
Yeah.
And breathe. So like at 2:00 in the afternoon, my little alarm goes off, and I'm like, okay, I take a break, Linda. Like you can take a break for 3 minutes, even probably if you wanted to. Really, you know what I'm saying?
It's a bio break.
We don't give ourselves breaks.
We don't.
Even I'm not a full-time caregiver. I'm like a big caregiver for a whole.
Right.
But really, we need to give our breaks. We need to, and you know what? People will say to me, "Oh, so my wife finally went to her sister's birthday party or something, and someone came in and took care of me overnight, whatever." And when my wife came back home, she was so much nicer to me. And meanwhile, many of the people say, I thought I was doing really good. But you aren't doing really good because you're so tense too.
Right. Or maybe you're doing good, but you could be doing better.
Yes. You could feel better.
Yeah. Because there's good, better, best.
Yes.
Let's get you to the best. And so that you can thrive. I know that's one thing Dr. Kate talks about. about is thriving. And what does thriving
Yeah, not
mean?
surviving.
Yes. Thriving means living to your best every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really what we want to do for our clients at Assisting Hands. And I know, Linda, you have some great resources on your website too.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff on my website, and there's support groups under events under lindaburhans.com. There's plenty there. And not just my support groups, 'cause I'm not the only kid on the block. Kate McCarty, Debbie Soul Savage, some of the ones down at St. Anthony's.
Yep.
So it's good because there are a lot of choices. And there's also a lot of them are virtual, because I know we have people from all over the United States and Canada on the conference today. But some are live too. So I do a live one now, the second Friday of every month at Arden Courts.
Nice.
We just opened live again, which is really good. But get into a support group, because you're going to learn things in support groups where you will not learn anywhere else. You'll know you're not alone. I can remember another woman that came into a support group one time, and she had the same story. My doctor said, I need to be in a support group. So she said, so what do you do here? So I say, we share ideas. I don't know what happened to us. I said, we share ideas and resources and everything like that. And we give tips. So she said, so give me a tip. So I said, excuse me? She's like, give me a tip. And just read that off there.
Yeah, let's read that off there. We can.
So I said, okay. I said, I'm going to give you a tip. I said, I don't know if this tip is appropriate for you, but my tip is, if you have to take your husband to the doctor on Friday, don't tell him on Monday.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of you get it, because if you tell them on Monday, they're going to be asking you all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, about going to the doctors. And they're anxious and you're anxious. And she said to me, oh my goodness, my husband was up at 3:00 in the morning last night, all dressed, sitting on the bed, ready to go to the doctors.
And you're like, honey.
She smacked the table. She said, I think I'm going to like this group.
Yeah.
But if you don't know about that, and then she said, just being there with other people, knowing she was not alone. I had a woman come into a support group one time, and she just wept the entire time.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden at the end of the group, she just said, oh, my husband thinks I'm cheating on him. I've been married to him for 48 years. I would never cheat on him. And one of the other ladies said, I remember when my husband went through that phase. And another woman said, honey, that's part of the disease. And you could just see her go,
yeah.
How
like, I am not alone.
Yeah. And it happens to other people.
Yeah.
Because she may not have ever said that to a family member or at church or wherever. The support group is safe, and that you're not alone, and there's nothing ridiculous you can say, because the strangest things happen. I had the strangest things happen. Caregivers do things and try to make this work or that work or stand on their head,
Right.
But just knowing you can share. And that's another thing I want to say once again. Let your family and friends know about the disease for your loved one. It changes everything in the world. Recently I was on a trip to Tennessee, and a caregiver called me, and she said, my granddaughter used to come over twice a week, and she hadn't been at the house in 2 months. And I'm really close with my granddaughter. I miss my granddaughter. She said, when finally the other day we headed out, and I said, what happened? And she said, my granddaughter told me that she's not coming by the house because my husband grabbed her breasts and her behind.
Oh.
She's a teenager and looks just like his wife when she was younger.
Yep.
But she never told her granddaughter that Grampy had dementia.
Okay.
So when she sat down and she explained it to her and told her, she was like, I'm so happy he has that disease. Because otherwise, right, she might never come back to see her Grampy or her grandma.
Right.
And now they know how to handle it. And now the grandmother knows to look out for that.
Right. And keep that separation.
Right.
There.
Right. And that kind of thing. So I think that's, but let people know.
Right.
Let people know. It's so important.
And I think that's something that, and that could be a whole nother topic we should talk about sometime, Linda.
But we're here another half hour.
Yeah, is educating our youth and our teens and our 20-somethings and even the kids about dementia, and letting them know that, because I know I've had some families that they shelter the teenagers.
Right.
They shelter the 20-somethings when they come home from
This is
college.
part of the life now.
Yeah, don't worry, honey, you don't need to go visit grandma because she's not the same person anymore.
Yeah.
You don't need to go. That is not the right thing to say.
Well, and what if I want to go see her?
Yeah,
And if something's wrong, I want to know. That's my grandma.
right. And you can prepare them
Yeah.
and help them understand that this is a disease and that these are the symptoms that grandpa's having.
Right. You wouldn't hide
And-
it if he had cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the cancer of the brain.
Yeah.
This is our equivalent of in the 80s when we had cancer going on.
Yep.
Now it's Alzheimer's
Yep.
and related dementias. These are our problems now, and we need to get it out of the closet, talk to our family members, have those discussions, and let the kids know that this is okay because you may be the
You're
next one.
probably going to be dealing with someone with it.
Yes.
It's just or some type of aging. You know, my grandson Tommy, he's 19. When his friends come over, I tell them, pull out your phone, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I say, watch my blooper video. I go and then watch some of those videos because you guys are going to be taking care of me someday. And just recently, one of his friends said, you know what, Grandma? I watched some of that stuff and I think it's going to help my grandpa taking care of my grandma.
That's awesome.
So we need to.
And it helps them then relate to their grandparents too. And then they can say, hey, Mom, you need to watch this video.
Yeah.
This lady, she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah. And then sometimes too, because sometimes people's behaviors change and they could be all of a sudden the cranky grandpa.
Yep.
And they'll think, oh, what's with him? I don't want to go see him anymore. But because they don't know it's part of the disease.
Right.
We need to let them know that it's just fair. And then we need to educate them on other things too, because I don't want the kids to come see him because he probably won't remember who they are. Or he probably won't remember their name. They're gonna feel uncomfortable. Sorry. First of all, occasionally you need to feel uncomfortable. Second of all,
Life
you can
is
bait them.
uncomfortable.
You can bait them.
Yeah.
Number one, you can put a photo of yourself over here when you were younger, because many times when you do that, they can make the connection.
Right.
But what I always did, like when I approached my uncle, I would be like, hey, Uncle Jimmy, it's me, Linda, your favorite niece.
Yeah.
So I told him who I am, what my name is, and that he loves me.
Yeah. Exactly.
But that works. And sometimes they said they don't really even know that, they don't recognize me. They just see through me. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they don't know you're there. It doesn't mean that they don't love you. They maybe not remember your name. I had years ago, I forgot this story for a long time. There was a woman and she said when she would go visit her grandma really didn't even recognize her or whatever. She had listened to, I don't know if she heard it on the radio show or whatever. Well, the next time she went to visit her grandma who lives in Florida, she wore a red flannel shirt and she put on a wig with long braids because that's what she wore when she was a kid all the time.
Oh my goodness.
She had the black braids and the flannel shirt. So every time she would go visit her grandma, she would wear that. And as soon as she walked in the room, her grandma knew who she was.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant. Well, we're all brilliant. We just got to take some time to think about it.
Right.
And how we can make that connection.
Little connections.
Yeah. It's like I say too, we're coming up to the holidays now and everything. And there's going to be a lot of interaction.
Right.
So 2 things I want to say about that. Well, I probably have plenty to say. First thing I want to say about that is if you're having a lot of people over to the house, make sure there's some quiet area for your loved one.
Yeah.
The bedroom, the den, or wherever. Because I tell you, I have a difficult time when there's 20 people in the house and everybody's talking and it's a little bit too much. And so for your loved one, it can be even more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you have like a little quiet space where they can be, maybe their room, like I said, or your bedroom.
A den or, some other space set aside.
Yeah. It also gives the opportunity for people to have a one-on-one visit with them.
Yep.
To come in and just spend a little time with each other.
Right.
And people say, oh, I don't know what to talk about. Well, what you can do is you can create a memory box. So if your mom was born in Brooklyn, print out some pictures of Brooklyn. If she was a Girl Scout leader, print out some pictures of the Girl Scouts and put on the back Troop 1410. That was my troop. But it's a means of conversation.
Right.
It's a means because many times people don't come because they don't know how to handle it.
Right. I even, I was talking with a friend the other day whose mom is declining and definitely having some early memory issues. She's also having some hers are more physical issues. He said, I sometimes I don't know what to talk with her about. And I said, well, do you have any of the old photos from when you guys were kids? Or do you have mom's wedding album?
Yeah.
Pull out those old photos and say, Mom, I was going through boxes the other day and I found these and I know some of these people here, but I thought we'd look through some of these photos.
Can you help me out?
Can you help me out? And even if she doesn't know who the people are,
she'll still enjoy
she will
it.
enjoy it because she will know that that's her history. She'll recognize things.
Yeah.
The other thing I recommended to him was you can go to online to things like Snapfish or Walgreens and CVS and
Yeah.
Walmart. Anybody who does photos does little photo books.
Yeah, and they're
And they're
easy to.
so simple to
Yeah.
make. And you can make a simple photo book about family vacations.
Yeah.
Going
Living
to
on
the
the
lake,
farm.
going to the
Right.
lake, going fishing with dad, mom and dad's wedding, mom and dad's
that's fun for you
50th
too.
anniversary. Yeah, so maybe you make that your gift for mom and dad
Yeah.
for Christmas this year or Thanksgiving and say, hey, I put this together for you. And it's something that dad can sit there and flip through.
Yeah.
And it's really good cognitively for his memory.
Yeah. And they also
Because-
have those photo frames, those like digital photo frames
Yeah.
that can just sit there on the table and just different pictures going through it.
We did that last year for my husband's parents. And we gave that to them for Christmas, set it up. It's hooked up to their Wi-Fi.
Right.
And then we gave the link to all my husband's siblings.
Right. So then
and to the
anybody can send the
grandkids.
photos.
And they send the photos in. And then
Yeah.
every once in a while, his mom sees new pictures and she'll call up and she'll say, oh my gosh, I saw that picture.
Well, I like that because it's bigger too, because sometimes you're coming over to visit grandma and you want to see a picture on my cell phone.
Yeah.
It's like so little and everything, but I like those. I think they're bigger, they're more visual for somebody, and I think that's enjoyable for anybody.
Right. Not even somebody that has cognitive impairment. I mean, this is just a fun family thing to share.
Yeah. All right, and remember, caregivers too, you don't have to have the big hoop-de-doo holiday. There's a lot going on. You're a full-time caregiver or part-time caregiver already. You can downsize it. Mom won't probably even notice at all. And you can downsize the decorations, especially if your loved one has Alzheimer's and dementia. You don't want a lot of decorations around the house. That could be very stressful for them. We just went through that with Halloween. And one of the caregivers, she decorated the whole house with all these witches and everything because her aunt always was a witch for Halloween, but it scared her.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't coming out of her bedroom. She didn't realize why. And we started talking about it. And I said, oh, you look around here. It was a little scary.
Intimidating.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary. So, you don't have to have a million blinking lights and all that kind of thing. Maybe just make some cookies together. Maybe just make a small dinner together.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. And then it's easier for you and it's easier on them.
And if those other family members want to come and visit, maybe one could come on Monday, one could come on Tuesday, one could come on Wednesday. We'll give you a little bit of a break. And they would still get to spend some time with your loved one.
Right. And you spread out the holiday.
Yeah.
And make it last a little longer.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions out there?
I don't see anything. Where's the
Does
chat
anybody
room?
have any?
No.
We had a couple. Okay.
But yeah, I want to continue in taking care of you as the caregiver.
Yeah.
Oh, a super presentation. Thank you very much. And the other one I'll answer after this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're good. Yeah, about taking some time for yourselves and about asking for some help from your family.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's usually the one kid that's taken over. It's the oldest one, the girl or the closest
Whoever
one.
lives the
or whatever.
closest. Yeah.
And one of the biggest complaints I hear from caregivers is nobody ever helps me. My sister doesn't help me. But I understand because she has a family and she has kids and she has this and she has that. well, maybe she can't come over and help you take care of mom, but maybe she could do all that paperwork for you for the insurance companies.
Make some phone calls.
Yeah, because that's the hardest thing. And just like you said, that woman taken to the VA,
Yeah,
taking,
Yeah.
maybe you could just take them on a doctor visit. Maybe you could say, let me know when the doctor visit is. I'll make time in my schedule. We could do that ahead of time.
right.
Maybe they could just send some money that could chip in so you could hire somebody to come in and spend some time with your loved one. I think many times they want to help, but they don't know how to help.
Yeah, they don't know what to
So
do.
we have to teach them how they can help.
Right. The phone calls is a big one. Because I know I will get calls from families asking about our services. And it'll be an out-of-state phone number, and it'll be the daughter-in-law in Michigan. And she's like, well, my in-laws live in Florida, they're in St. Pete, and my sister-in-law's down there, their daughter. And she's just really overwhelmed with care. And so my husband asked me, can you make some calls around to find out about home care companies? And so she was interviewing me on the phone and said, okay, I'm going to take all these notes down. And I gave her some ideas on questions to ask them. And I said, let me know. But that was her task. And she said, and my husband takes care of the finances down for them. He does all the bill pay. So we'll take care of the bill. But then
So you have your care team.
Right. When it's time, will you go out to the house and connect with my sister? I said, absolutely. Just let me know, give her my number, and she and I can connect, when it's good for her. So divide and conquer.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this all on your own.
No.
And I think another thing is if you are an only child, there are resources for you. I mean, I liken myself, I tell a lot of families, I play surrogate daughter.
Right.
If the son is tapped out and can't handle this, we'll step in and help make those doctor's appointments. We have caregivers that can accompany to those appointments. We can, take mom for those walks. We can take her to church.
Maybe I'm just not able to take care of mom because mom and I don't get along so good.
Right.
So, but instead of mom not getting any help, I can have someone else that can come in and help with those duties of things that I can't do. Because sometimes, you're at the point you got to take care of someone that hasn't been kind to you.
Yeah.
Or didn't take care of you. So that's really difficult. So many times think of that. You don't have to do it by yourself. You can have, and another thing I want to bring up while I'm just thinking of it is adult daycare.
Yeah.
Because our loved ones need to socialize.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're at home, whether they're in a community, wherever they are. And a lot of people don't even know what adult daycare is. But adult daycare is like going to camp.
Yep.
Where there are locations, and some of them are really reasonable with Neighborly Care Network, where they'll actually come and pick up your loved one at the home.
Yeah.
And bring them there, and they spend times with other people that are probably the same cognitive impairment or whatever as they are, or not. And they'll have some lunch there, and they'll do crafts, and they have music, and they have dancing, and it's a fabulous thing because they'll find out, oh my goodness, my husband finally went there, and then he came home, he ate dinner, and went to bed.
Yeah. We have one family that Monday through Friday, we go at 7:30 in the morning, and we get mom, we wake her up, we help her get dressed, she gets showered, brushes her teeth, we bring her out to the breakfast table. She lives with the son and daughter-in-law, and they have some kids of their own, so there's 3 generations in the house. But the wife goes ahead and gets breakfast ready, but my caregiver goes in, and mom is a little bit hesitant to listen to her daughter-in-law.
Yeah, it's a
encouraging
tough
her to get out
situation
of bed.
sometimes, right?
She's got a little bit of vascular dementia, which tends to be a little bit more cranky and a little bit more obstinate. But she listens to my caregiver because she's not the family member.
She's like a
not
friend.
The daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
Well, she's a professional. She's coming in and scrubs.
Yeah.
And so she knows that this is my professional, and we keep her on track, because otherwise she would just slide right back into bed like a teenager. She'd just be like, I'm going to go get back into bed. And we keep her on task and say, okay, well, we got to get you to program today. And then we take her to adult day. We drive her there, check her in at adult day, and And the daughter then later on in the afternoon can come pick her up because she's had her time to get the breakfast dishes cleaned up, do her thing, run her errands. And you're right, mom comes home tired, eats dinner, goes to bed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
One other thing I was thinking about that I wanted to share with you, Linda, and you asked what we do. Something else we offer to our families is access to our family portal.
Okay.
So we include all of our caregivers when they're with a client, they check off the list of things they did. So we have activities of daily living that we assist with, but they also include a little narrative in their visit so that the daughter that's up
As a clue.
in Wisconsin knows, what did we do with mom today? Did we take her for a walk? Did we
Play a game?
Did
Did
we-
we look at photos?
yeah, what did mom do today? And how did, she enjoyed it. So when she calls her up and says, hey mom, did you take a shower today? I think it's in the Q&A. So it looks like we have another question out there. You wanna
Okay,
read
my
this one?
93-year-old mom lives with us and has dementia, unable to walk but is continent. Per her doctor's recommendation, she is on hospice home care to give me more help. My daughter is wanting to take me on a 3-day trip to New York City in December. Hospice said she could go to the facility for up to 5 days to give me respite. My concern is taking her out of our home and her being confused with different surroundings.
Right.
Well, I would be concerned about that too. Some people can go to another place and not bother them. It might be better for you to get someone to come into your home to take care of them.
Right. And that's something that we would do in home respite. Because it's a 3-day stretch, we'd probably do it with 2 caregivers and have
Okay,
a daytime caregiver that would work maybe 7 to 7, and then a nighttime caregiver that would work 7 to 7 on the opposite. And that way she has 2 people there that know her and they could come out and meet her in advance.
well, I think then you might feel more comfortable with it because you already know who's gonna be there and that she's gonna be at home, and please, no matter what, take the trip.
Yeah.
Take the trip. Make sure you go on the trip because that's really, really important for you.
Yeah, we used to have a client that we took care of. And the wife, it was a second marriage, and she still had her grandkids that she wanted to go visit. And so about once a month, every other month, we did that, exactly what you're talking about there. We came in for the weekends. And that way she could go to her little 4-year-old granddaughter's birthday.
Yeah.
And still got to do those things.
All right, so someone else says, I feel like adult daycare has some activities my mom would enjoy, but I'm afraid it would be too scary if I am not with her because she'll be confused. Won't know where she is and who these people are. Do you find this to be true? Well, first of all, you can, at many times at the beginning, you can go there and spend some time with her there. You don't have to just leave her off there. And you can start with just 2 hours at a shot or 3 hours at a shot. Everyone's a little bit different. To see how that works and how comfortable she works. But many times the people that are there are trained to get them together. And like I say, they're dealing with people with probably with the same kind of cognitive impairment. But I have found probably 95% of people that have tried adult daycare have liked it.
Yeah.
And I found it was a nice alternative.
Yeah, it's the preschool dilemma. I don't want to send my 3-year-old to preschool because she's going to miss me so much. And
she might be nervous.
She might be nervous and she's going to be scared and she's never left the home before. And how are we going to do this? Adult daycare is very similar. They know how to handle those anxieties. That's what they do. That's
your
their
anxiety.
specialty.
It's not your loved one's anxiety.
No.
Sometimes it's just your anxiety.
Yeah, it is their specialty to take care of people with cognitive impairment who may have anxieties and who are worried and scared, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
So don't let that be what keeps you from doing it.
Yeah, and just like I say, try it out on a small basis first,
Mhm.
and then you'll see how it is. Like I say, everybody needs socialization. They need to be with everybody else. You know, I had a friend of mine, Mama Rose, that started going to adult daycare, and her family wasn't sure how she was going to go for it. So I told her I worked there, and I actually went there and did like 3 free programs. But I told her that I worked there and that but I'd be on the road a lot. And I needed her to help me. And her job would be to be a good example. So that when it was time to get up to do something, she'd be the first one to get up and get everyone to do it. And it worked fabulous. And after a while, she didn't remember I didn't work there. But you know, the people that run these programs are more than happy to have you be as comfortable and your loved one as comfortable as possible, and they'll do anything they can to work with you. You know, we really have some fabulous resources around here, which is great. And like I say, most of the times it's the caregiver that has the issue, not the loved one. The loved one will be fine. And you're like, whoa, you know, are they okay, or did they miss me?
Yeah,
And it's
it's
usually
gonna be
fine.
fine.
Yeah, and you know what's a good thing too, also about respite care, is right now you have the opportunity to plan to go to this wedding. What if some emergency comes down the road and you need someone to take care of your loved one? By now, doing it ahead of time when things are calm and when things are good, they're already exposed to that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, all your paperwork is done and everything. So then for the future, God forbid something happens last minute, or you win the lottery and you want to go on a trip or something, that's all set up.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important to
Yeah,
do.
and don't be afraid to check the hospice um resources there, the respite resources, because they are really good.
Yeah,
Um and look at all your possibilities, because you need to have choices. You
yeah,
need to have options. You don't want to pigeon yourself into a corner.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes you might have some friends that want to come by and help for part of the time also.
Right.
You might not have to have a professional there the entire time. Like I said, when that woman said to me after my mom passed away, "You never gave me the opportunity to hang out with your mom," and I heard she was really cool.
Yeah.
So maybe some people just want to spend some time with your loved one, and that would be a nice, you know, way to check it out.
Yeah. I think that's great.
So, Becky, what's the last thing you want our listeners to hear today?
I think the biggest thing to know is that you're not alone, and that people love you and support you.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. And it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, it's good to ask for help. It's really
Mhm.
good to ask for help. And one short story I just want to say, this is one of my recent success stories, and I think it's worth repeating to everyone. I had a woman who called me like 3 months ago, and she said, I really need some help. She was weeping, and she said, my mother was the most fabulous mother, the most perfect mother until I was 14 years old. And then my mom got into a car accident. And then my mom got addicted to opiates. And she said, and then my mom was the worst mother ever in the world. She said, so as soon as I was old enough, I left the house. I got out of the house as fast as possible. She said, fast forward 25 years later, my mom has Alzheimer's and I have to take care of her. She said, and I'm mad and she's mad and I'm mad and she's mad. And anything I was suggesting wasn't panning out. One morning I called her and I said, tell me about a time that was very, very fabulous with your mother. And she said, you know what, Linda? When I used to come home from school, my mother used to brush my hair. And the woman still has long hair. I said, do you think you could ask your mom to brush her hair? Say, Mom, nobody ever brushed my hair the way you did. She said, Linda, you know, you're kind of pushing it a little bit. I don't know if I could really do that. But she thought about it. Well, now every afternoon at 4 o'clock, her mother brushes her hair. She said, and I get to be the little girl, and she gets to be the mom. And we're trying to forget about all that other stuff that happened in between. So your caregiving experience can be the most horrific experience of your life, or close to beautiful, depending on how you handle it, depending on what you worry about or not worry about. You know, I had another woman the week before last, and she came in. She said, "My uncle's trying to take my grandma's money, and she's not getting enough help. And when I go there, he really agitates me, and the carpet is dirty." And she ranted for like 45 minutes. And then I was like, your grandma's 98 years old, right? She said, yeah, well, I don't think she's going to live forever. I said, do you think she really feels all that stress that you're going through? I said, be the granddaughter. Only go visit her when he's not there. He said, you're not worried about the money, so don't worry about the money. And if the carpet's so bad, just call in the carpet cleaner.
Yeah.
I said, spend time with your grandma. And her grandma's almost blind. But don't say her grandma doesn't know what's going on and how she feels. And the last thing you want is your family fighting and everything else. So thanks so much. It's been fun talking to you guys today. Now we're going to get ready to hear our next fabulous speaker, which is Carrie Miller. And she's going to talk about the gifts of grief. And I know you're saying, don't tell me there are any gifts. There are. So we'll be back in a minute. Thanks, everybody.
I remember making cardboard forts in the backyard with you kids. And remember that time you and your brother burnt the cookies so bad our house smelt like smoke for a week. Your mother played music every Sunday morning on my mother's old piano. I still hear it. I know I'm not getting any younger, but I'm not ready to leave this house.
Dad?
It's my home.
Dad, you don't have to.
Caring for your loved ones comes naturally to us. We have provided compassionate and dependable care to seniors and those with disabilities. Our caregivers exceed state training requirements. At Assisting Hands, we understand that remaining at home is what will provide the best quality of life for your loved one and the most peace of mind for you.
My home.
Helping you remain happy and at home.